Hi everyone, my name is Zoranne. Welcome back to another video. I can't lie to you, I've already recorded this video, what I'm about to tell you all today about my Q1 favorites. I got a beautiful new microphone, and with getting a new piece of equipment, you learn how to use that piece of equipment, especially when there's not a lot of detailed instructions which comes with said piece of equipment. There has been a little bit of trial and error in quite a few trials, lots of error, and what I just said was I recorded this video the other day, and in order for this microphone, it's a Logitech Blue Yeti, you have to have the microphone plugged into a computer or a laptop in order for it to power. I don't know why it's like that, but it is. And I recorded this entire video only to start editing it in post-production and have most of the audio cut out from the video because my MacBook, which is on the floor right now, fell asleep. And when the MacBook falls asleep, it's no longer active, which, like, duh, brain, that makes sense. I didn't think about that when I was recording, though. So when my MacBook went to sleep, it was no longer recording audio. So now we've got my MacBook in front of me. Sleep mode is off, so it will not be locking out while we're recording this video. So that's really fun. And I put on my stories, I was like, should I re-record this or should I just move on? And most of you voted for re-recording this. So today I present my Q1 favorites in books, movies, and TV, and whatever else I feel like talking about, because even though I spend most of my social media talking about books, I watch a lot of TV, watch a lot of movies, and I love to yap about those. So, like, why not put it in a YouTube video? Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, hit the notification bell, and if you want to go a step further, follow me on my Bindery page. Bindery is just like a bookish version of Patreon, where I have a subscriber community that gets extra content from me each month, in addition to being a part of my publishing and print Fantasy and Friends, where we get to publish awesome stories like And the Sky Bled and our upcoming title, Crueler Mercies. This is a standalone climate fantasy, and this is a sapphic revenge story. Me and my communities helped bring these books to life. I feel very lucky to have a publishing imprint. And I want to highlight right now that Bindery just announced their exclusive editions of their spring titles. So Crueler Mercies is coming out on June 3rd, and if you can get this gorgeous hardback edition only from their website. You got golded edges and a gorgeous, gorgeous map. And if you are a part of my Bindery community by way of being a free follower or a paid member, there is a 25% off discount code for you when you join my Bindery. And right now, and the hardcover for And the Sky Bled is 50% off, no code needed. And I will also link the trade paperback for Crueler Mercies, which is available for pre-order. So enough yapping, let's get started. We are gonna jump right into my Q1 favorites for books. So these are the books I wanna highlight for the 17 books that I read between January and March. I wouldn't consider myself a fast reader per se. I read anywhere between 4 and 6 books a month. I don't really focus on numbers too much. That's just usually like the sweet spot where I am. I like to focus more on quality over quantity. I know I'm never going to be a fast reader, and I'm okay with that. At this point in time, with the 17 books, I average about a book per week, sometimes 2. It really depends on if I'm reading like a chunky fantasy novel or a quick rom-com. It really varies, but I read 17 total books, and I'm going to highlight 5 that I think are worth your time and that were my absolute favorite, and they're in no particular order, but the first book I want to talk about is Deep End by Ali Hazelwood, because out of the 17 books I read Deep End twice, which is unheard of for me. I don't think I've ever done that before, where I finished a book and then as soon as I finished it, I started it over again, because that's just how much it consumed my brain and my entire being for like 2 weeks straight. And you know what? I'm not mad about it. I'm a big fan of Ali Hazelwood. I know I'm like literally one in a million. We all have an Ali Hazelwood book that we absolutely love, and then we all have an Ali Hazelwood book that we just really don't vibe with. And for me, Deep End was the one that I could not shake. I loved it so freaking much. And I don't have my copy with me right now because I lent it to a friend. And this, I'm not saying this as a negative thing, but Allie's books tend to be like a little formulaic, where it's like big man, tiny girl, don't know how to communicate because of one event that happened in their past that really was just a miscommunication, and now they think they hate each other. As much as I love that, I get tired of reading the same story over and over again. But so Deep End felt a little different for me. It takes place at Stanford. We're following Scarlett Vandermeer and Lucas Bloomquist, but we're reading entirely from Scarlett's POV. She is a diver at Stanford, and Lucas is a Swedish student who is basically a swimming Olympian. He's like the Michael Phelps of the world in this instance, but he's from Sweden and he's a student at Stanford. And the romance comes from them finding out that they have similar preferences in the bedroom. I'm going to try to beat around the bush here because I do not want to be demonetized. But if you read the book, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And their friendship with benefits bedroom with benefits hookup situation blossoms from there because it obviously turns into more. And I just really loved how refreshing this story was. I liked how this was set in college, and there's just a big theme of exploration and finding out what you want out of a partner or in life, especially in your younger 20s, because that is just like there's so much happening at that age. I mean, I'm speaking as someone who's 26 and isn't that far removed from being a young college student, but there's just so much happening in your life, so many uncertainties, so many things are changing about you, yourself, your brain, your life. It's just like a complete metamorphosis in all aspects. And I really loved how Lucas and Scarlett found each other in those moments. And especially because Lucas is just like so obsessed with Scarlett, I couldn't handle it. Like, he's the ultimate book boyfriend for me. And one of my favorite tropes is when the man is so down bad, feral, obsessed with the FMC, like he cannot breathe without her, cannot live without her. He's overwhelmed by her existence. I'm looking at you, Gus, from Beach Read. And that is exactly what Lucas is to Scarlett. So for Deep End, I will say that this is one of Allie's like spiciest novels, which I personally enjoyed, and I think it's one of her best written. And I cannot wait to see what she publishes next, which is going to be Problematic Summer Romance come May. I don't know how she has 3 books coming out this year, but I'm gonna be there for them. I read this twice. Do with that information what you will, and I do think there should be an IKEA bed frame named after Lucas Bloomquist. The next book I read this year, and also one of my favorites, is The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. And you're probably thinking, Zoranne, how have you lived 26 years on Earth and you haven't read Lord of the Rings? And I say, listen! It was very intimidating as a young girl, and I just never got around to it. But for this year, in January, I decided to take the voting option away from my book club, which is a democracy, for 1 month, and say, y'all, we're reading The Fellowship of the Ring. We're doing what your Jarl wants. And that's what we did. We read The Fellowship of the Ring. And oh my god, what a treat, because I have watched the Lord of the Rings movies for years. I rewatch them regularly. I've seen The Return of the King live with an orchestra. Like, I've seen it all. I'm very involved. But I was like, I haven't read the original source material, which I know is so freaking embarrassing. But I rectified that. And I'm so glad I did. And I'm so glad I read it when I did, because I think if I read this when I was younger, I don't think I would have appreciated it as much. And I don't think I would have been able to get past the writing style, because this is very... It's a different writing style than what we're used to in the modern day. It's very meandering, very wandering, and for good reason. But I did an immersion read. So I read the words with my eyeballs on the page, and then I did the Andy Serkis audiobook in my ears, and that was just a wonderful experience because he is quite the performer. And what I loved about that is just how Andy really embodied every single character, and he made all the voices very distinct, and they sounded like the characters that we know and love without being imitations of the original actors. So Gandalf sounds like Gandalf, but it isn't an imitation of Ian McKellen. Aragorn sounds like you think Aragorn would, but it's not like him doing a Viggo Mortensen impersonation, which was just so cool just to see his like artistic twist on the tale. I will also say, like, I didn't realize how much singing would be in this book, honestly, and I really enjoyed that. What was also really interesting for me to find out is like how anticlimactic some of the big moments in the book feel, because the movie really draws out the drama and the theatrics of it as a movie does. One big example that comes to mind is the bridge to Khazad-dûm when Gandalf is fighting the Balrog, and he gets pulled into the abyss, basically, and he's holding onto the edge by the skin of his teeth, by his hands, and he's like, "Fly, you fools." That scene in the book is really only a few paragraphs long, like the whole Gandalf falling and everything. Like, it's really not that dramatic. It's not that theatrical. It's very to the point. Few paragraphs, that's all we get. But in the movie, it's this big moment that we've been building to, and it hurts so much, and seeing how the characters react to that is devastating. And I think in that aspect, the movie does a great job of adapting the source material, and it was just really interesting to see the differences. But it also kind of speaks to the writing style of the book and the time it was published. But all in all, I'm really excited to continue on with the series. I haven't read The Two Towers yet, but I really plan to, and I can't wait to do it with Andy Serkis's voice in my ears. Then, like many others, I fell down a Hunger Games rabbit hole because Sunrise on the Reaping, the newest Hunger Games novel, was published last month, and girl, I can't even explain the devastation. This book was for the fans, okay? If you don't know, Sunrise on the Reaping is Haymitch's Games. It's the second Quarter Quell 50th annual Hunger Games. We get an idea of like how Haymitch's games went in Catching Fire, which I will talk about in a moment. We know the devastation, we know the loss, we get little tidbits of history in the original Hunger Games trilogy, but like what you come to learn is that a lot of it we didn't know because there was propaganda infused in the story, as there always has been in the Hunger Games novels, because this is a dystopian ruled by the fascist government and they control the narrative, which really comes through and shines in this book. And it is all the more terrible, all the more devastating. The cards are stacked even more against Haymitch than we ever would have thought, and we get to learn that tale through Haymitch's eyes in Sunrise on the Reaping. And I've been thinking about this book for weeks. It's genuinely haunted me. I sobbed so hard. I was dry heaving, like yelling in my living room at 1 a.m. when I finished it. Nothing could have prepared me, even though like you know how this book ends, because there's just like this haunting, uncomfortable feeling that hangs over the narrative. I'm not including this book here, but I did read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes before reading Sunrise on the Reaping, because I felt like that would give me the best reading experience based on some advice that I got from some trusted friends. And I do think that reading Ballad before Sunrise made the big emotional moments more impactful. And so I do recommend reading Ballad before Sunrise, even though it is not the most enjoyable read. Ballad, that is. It's not a pleasurable read being in Snow's head. And some would even argue that it's not even necessary for that book to exist. And I don't think watching the movie is enough. But I am just one girl with one opinion. Do whatever you want. You can just read this book. Who cares? But I do think if you want to have if you want to have these big emotional moments land with the impact that was intended, I think you should read The Ballad before reading Sunrise on the Reaping. So then I was firing on all syllables, and I went straight into my reread of The Hunger Games for the first time in 10 years. I only have the first two on me right here because these are my first two and I don't want to talk about a million books for forever. Rereading these books for the first time in 10 years, right after reading Sunrise on the Reaping, was just like peak reading. It is peak entertainment, peak everything, literally. I had some of the most fun I've had in years rereading these, because all of the threads really come together after reading Ballad, after reading Sunrise, and then rereading these, because, oh my god, they hold up even after all this time, because these were published during a time of like dystopian was all the rage, and these ones just really have stood out. The fandom has stood the test of time, and it really just shows like Suzanne is really that girl. I feel like I have had a newfound appreciation for the world, the characters, and I understood it better through the lens of being older now and not reading these as a 16, 17, 15-year-old girl. I don't even know how old I was when I read these, but literally peak reading. If you're reading for the first time, go in publication order. So go Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Mockingjay, Ballad, Sunrise. But if you want to re-enter your Hunger Games era, like you've already read the original trilogy and you haven't read Sunrise on the Reaping yet, then I think you should read in timeline order. So then you should go Ballad, Sunrise, and then reread the original trilogy. Peak reading. Watch the movies then too. The movies are amazing adaptations, trust me. Lovely. Nothing but amazing things to say. So these are the 5 books that really stood out to me in quarter 1. If the lighting's changed, it's because I had to take a break. We have a dog here now. Murphy's here. My friend's dog. We're watching him for the weekend. And that's why it's a little bit later than I recorded the first part of the video. Now I'm talking about TV. I watch a lot of TV. TV shows, I'm going to try to keep it to things that I'm not rewatching. So these are new to me TV shows, because let's be honest, we always have a comfort TV show. I can't help it. I just, in the start of April, like I was rewatching Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Peak watching, obviously. But the main show that I would say was like the highlight, I have like 2 shows that are really like the highlight of the last 3 months. And for me, it was watching Sex and the City for the first time. I know, because I have so many friends that love Sex and the City. They quote it, they talk about it all the time, or they reference episodes. And I was like, you know what? I need to watch this. The same thing happened with The Office for me. It was like, for a while, I was like, I'm not watching The Office. And then I gave in, I watched it, and I didn't regret it because it's a great freaking TV show. But I had to watch Sex and the City. It must have been a time to be alive in the early 2000s watching this show as it came out, because they don't make TV like that anymore. I was enthralled. Sex and the City probably took me a good 4 to 5 episodes to get into. But like once I was in it, I was in it. I was spending my night every single night watching probably 3 to 4 episodes, because just like the messiness of their lives and in like Carrie's diaries and the articles, and Charlotte and Miranda, and of course Samantha, the icon that she is. Like no one will ever top Samantha for me. If I had to rank all of the girls, Samantha is obviously my number 1. Then it would probably go Charlotte, then Miranda, then Carrie, because we all know what Carrie's like. And I will say, not even a hot take, Carrie and Big deserve each other. They deserve each other. Like, they're both idiots in love, even though they can't really admit it until they do. They deserve each other. I'm not going to get into that because I don't want to spoil the series for you. But, like, it's like nostalgia. It's just truly, Sex and the City is truly a time capsule. But it's also just like girlhood, and it's just so messy and just so fun to watch. Because I feel like there truly isn't a show like Sex and the City, especially, or at least there wasn't a show in the late 90s, early 2000s, where it's 4 women as the main characters, and you're watching them live their lives unapologetically, all messy, no filter, just truly trying their best. And there's still a lot of misogyny happening during that time, like, because I mean, it is Y2K, and you're watching like the girls deal with that, but also like trying to unlearn like their biases that they've held for a long time as they like go through this period of their life in their like early 30s. And I just think it's so beautiful, and I really loved it. If you're wondering, I am a Miranda, like through and through, and I don't know what that says about me, but I'm a Miranda. As much as I would love to be like a Samantha, not really, like not in practice, but in theory, I'm definitely a Miranda. And when I think I should also do, while I have you here, I should do my impression of Steve calling for Miranda. Miranda? 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 I never get enough of it. Oh my god. Another highlight, I will say, Harry Goldenblatt, you are my king, and Aiden deserved better. I think my favorite season was season 4. Again, loved it. Sex and the City. I did watch the movies, and I'll talk about those later. Then, the next show I really loved in the last 3 months that took over my life every single week, hands down, is The Pitt on Max. This show, what a wild ride. I love medical dramas, I love procedurals, and I've never watched anything like The Pitt. Obviously, I grew up watching Grey's Anatomy, but like we were not watching Grey's Anatomy for the medicine. But The Pitt, my only complaint about this show is that I wish I could have binged all 15 episodes at once. That is how like high octane intense this show is. If you don't know The Pitt, it is a medical drama. Medical professionals are saying that it is like the most medically accurate TV show that's ever been made, and it kind of operates on a real time structure where there's 15 episodes in season 1, and each episode is an hour of a shift in an ED in Pittsburgh, and the main character is Dr. Robbie, and he's played by Noah Wiley, who you may know from ER, is now a show that I need to go back and watch for myself in love. And so you're watching like the lives of these healthcare professionals in a post-COVID world as they work in a trauma 1 emergency department, and it is insane. That first episode, I was holding my breath the entire time. I didn't even realize like an hour had passed before I was like because it is so intense. And since it is on Max, they can get away with being more graphic, more gory, and just like having a more intense show in general. And I think it's some of the best TV that I've watched in years. And I can't wait to actually like rewatch it. I'm probably insane to say that because it is such like an intense and emotionally charged show. But I feel like it's truly a show that is meant to be binged. Watching 1 episode per week was agonizing, but I've been telling everyone in my life about The Pitt, and if you think you can stomach it and you like medical dramas or procedurals like this, like I think you should watch The Pitt, like hands down. And then other shows to highlight of note, like some network shows that I really love and I watch every week are The Rookie and 911. I will always rave about these, but I just wanted to highlight Sex and the City and The Pitt in this segment because like those are just like standout shows to me, because I could talk about 911 and The Rookie for forever. Okay, now we're moving on to movies, and honestly, not a great quarter for movies. Everything I watched was pretty much a rewatch, and the movies that were new to me were just okay. I rewatched Lord of the Rings, duh. I rewatched all the Hunger Games movies after I read all of the books sequentially. Obviously, peak watching, those movies still hold up. What amazing adaptations of the books. But, like, the movies that were new to me, I watched Moana 2, and I feel like I'm talking about least favorites, which is, like, it doesn't even hold a candle to the first Moana. Like, you can tell that Lin-Manuel Miranda was not in the room when Moana 2 was being created. And apparently it was supposed to be a TV show before they decided to make it a movie, and I don't know. It was fine. I also watched Moulin Rouge with a friend, and didn't really love it. Miss AMC and Obi-Wan Kenobi couldn't save it for me. It was a really bizarre movie, and I don't think I, like, understood it. But I also just, I don't know, I didn't enjoy watching that. But really, like, the highlights for movies had to have been, like, the Hunger Games franchise. That was peak movie watching for me. And now, as I film this, like, I really want to go to the theaters and go see Sinners, because I've heard nothing but rave reviews for Sinners, and it sounds right up my alley. And it's the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith for the Star Wars franchise, so I definitely want to go see Revenge of the Sith, obviously, because, like, I'm also a huge Star Wars girl. But really nothing to report on the movie front, which really kind of bums me out. I've talked a little bit about this online, but not too much. But at the beginning of the year, I started taking Accutane for my acne. A little bit about me. I've always had acne on my face. I've tried every treatment under the sun. Nothing has worked for me long term, so now I'm on my last resort. I'm taking Accutane, which is a very intense medication to get rid of acne, hopefully permanently, because I am getting married this summer. And even though, like, I'm not too insecure about, like, the breakouts on my face because I'm so used to living with them, I would be damned if I would have a face full of acne on my wedding day. Like, that is just a complete nightmare to me. Maybe I am insecure about it. I don't know, but I'm talking about it out loud. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention the products that have helped me so much during this journey. One of the main side effects of taking Accutane is dryness everywhere, especially on your skin, because the way Accutane works, it basically halts oil production in your body, since it's a medication that you take orally and it's not like a topical medication. So, like, my skin is so freaking dry, which means my lips are dry. So, like, I have to have Aquaphor on me, on my person all the times. I have to have a chapstick. If I don't, I will go nuts, because that is how dry my lips are. I know what chapped lips feel like, but, like, Accutane just takes it to a whole different level. So I always have, like, a little tube of Aquaphor on me at all times. Literally, I think I have, like, 6 of these just laying around my house. I don't know why I'm trying to be, like, a beauty influencer right now. I'm not. But just plain Aquaphor, because the dry lips be awful. Another thing, since my skin is dry, I really love, my dermatologist recommended the La Roche-Posay Cicaplast Balm. This is kind of like Aquaphor in a kind of like a lotiony, really thick cream. And so it kind of helps lock in the moisturizer after I moisturize with an already heavy moisturizer at night and during the day sometimes. It kind of makes me look like a glazed donut, so I don't really go out in public right away after I put this on. But this has been really soothing for my very dry skin, because, like I said, I'm really dry. I did not know skin could be this dry. It's like the Sahara Desert on my face at all times. But this has been very helpful. And then in addition, your skin gets really sensitive on Accutane, so wearing sunscreen every day is a must. Even if you're not on Accutane, you should be wearing a sunscreen on your face. So one I really love is the Supergoop Unseen Sunscreen. She's a little pricey, but I really enjoy her, and this lasts me a long time. It's clear, so it doesn't feel like you're wearing sunscreen, and it gives like a gel matte, and it has like a gel matte finish. It's kind of silicone-y, but again, I really like it. And another good dupe for this is the clear sunscreen from Trader Joe's, which is like $9. So I kind of switch between either this or that, or the Trader Joe's one. Both are great and have been really big helps with Accutane. Could not live without these products, I swear. And then just to, like, cap this video off, some other favorites of mine was a new bookstore opened up in Cleveland, Ohio called Flame and Fable. It is a fantasy and romance independent bookstore located in Lakewood, Ohio. I'm from Cleveland, so it's not too far from me. And it is so cute. I will insert some footage in here if I have any. I was just there the other day talking to the owner, Nikki, because her and I have become pretty cool, I guess, friends. Yeah, we've become friends. And I always try to support an independent bookstore when I can. When I'm in the area, I always stop in. I literally pre-ordered Great Big Beautiful Life from her. She just ordered me an extra copy, and I went in store and picked it up on release day, which was so great. I was so grateful for that. Love supporting independent bookstores, and it's so nice to have like a new one in Cleveland, because I feel like we have a good network of indie bookstores, but I don't know if we have any like dedicated themed ones like Flame and Fable, which caters to fantasy and romance readers. And it's just really wonderful to be able to support small businesses. And I highly suggest you check out Flame and Fable next time you're in the Cleveland area, or if you're local. And then the last thing I want to round this video off with is that last month at the end of March, I went to Los Angeles to a little event called Shelves in the City, which was a bookish weekend in LA, where me and 115 other creators in the bookish space were invited for a bookish weekend in LA full of bookstores and events and authors and panels and signings and volunteer work, and it was just such a wonderful weekend. Again, if I have footage of this, because I barely filmed anything from that weekend, I will include it in this video, but I was just so grateful to be a part of this and be able to see my friends and hang out with them for even if it was just for a weekend. It was just a wonderful, wonderful time. And I even got like this little friendship bracelet. This girl Zoe, NYC Book Co, made it, and it was so cutie. She made them for everyone. It feels like 2025 is moving so freaking fast, and I just wanted to kind of like make like a little time capsule of the next 3 months. Hopefully if you like this video, I'll make one for Q2. Hopefully you can't hear the lawnmower outside my window right now. I think it's my neighbor. This video was a trial to make with microphone things, other stuff, trying new camera, being more consistent. I say that in every video, but really I have to push myself. I hope you enjoyed this video. What was your favorite thing that you read, watched, consumed, bought in the first quarter of 2025? I would love to know. I will have everything I mentioned linked in the description. I hope you have a great day or night wherever you are. I will see you in the next video. Bye, friends.